So, when you don't know how to do something, how to fix something, or how something works, what do? Ask a teacher? Ask your parents? Ask your friends? Ask someone you really know and trust? No! You go to the internet and ask some randos. But I'm not talking about creeps here, I hope. No, I mean the people of the internet! You know, those people who make how-to videos. Because chances are, if you're trying to figure out something, someone on the internet has already figured it out for you. Things like, how do I unsend a text? No. How do I do a winged eyeliner? How do I get rid of the zit by Friday night? How do I get out of gym class? How do I screen cap Snapchat without getting caught? They'll never know. But then there are things in life that don't have an easy fix, that don't have a simple solution, that don't have a how-to video. Things like what to do when you have problems with family, or when it seems like you have no control in your life, or what to do when someone has done something to you. I mean, clearly, they gotta go. The truth is, there's a lot of life that doesn't have a solution you can just find online. So how do you know what to do when you don't know what to do?
Hello again, New Garden students. How are you today? I hope this video finds you well, having a good, fun day. This week we launched Monday Night Crew. That was yesterday for me. It was Monday, and it was really cool. We're looking at discipleship in the Gospel of John over the summer. So if you want to be involved in Monday Night Crew, you can find the link to our Zoom at newgarden.church/chat. We meet on Mondays at 4, and yeah, it's going to be really awesome. Talking about discipleship, learning about what that means. We will also be on Zoom on Wednesday night at 7. Same link, super easy, but I hope to see you there. We'll be talking about this lesson and hanging out, playing another round of Quiplash, so you don't want to miss that. But I'm so glad that you have decided to join us for another week. It's week 2 of what to do when you don't know what to do. So, first of all, that is your challenge. Come ready to say that tongue twister. It's going to be great. But my first question for you today is, what is your most used emoji? If you're watching this video right now, which you are because you can hear me, I want you to text me your most used emoji, okay? So then I'll know you're watching the teaching video, and I'll know what your most favorite emoji is. My most frequent emoji probably is the red heart, and I've also been really into like the 2 pink hearts lately. This way, I guess, for y'all. So, emojis, I don't know how you feel about them, but they definitely help you determine how a person is saying a text to you, right? So if you just get a text with words and no emojis, sometimes it's hard to understand exactly what they mean, but emojis give a little bit more meaning and emotion behind the message. And there are some emojis I feel like that do that better than others, right? One of them in particular is like the eyes with no mouth, which is just like utter shock. Just very, like, you don't know what to say or do about a situation. So we are diving right in with what to do when you don't know what to do, and when sometimes you feel the way that emoji with no mouth feels. So we kicked off last week talking about Joseph, who is one of the big names in the Old Testament. He had the coat of many colors. He was the youngest in his family, and he had a bunch of older brothers, and he was his dad's favorite. And we talked about how he has a very dramatic and sticky sort of family situation. And today, that is still very true in the story we're going to be looking at. So, but I want to ask you before we jump in, if there is anything that you've experienced before that has made you feel shocked, like the no mouth emoji. Anything that maybe has made you feel uncertain about your life, or anything that has like kind of messed everything up in your life. Maybe it was like a friendship going bad. Maybe it was a class that didn't go well for you, or your family was moving out of the house you've always known and everything was going to be different. There are a lot of different things that can upset our lives, right? And make them feel scary and uncertain and hurt even. There are a lot of different things that can happen in our individual lives to make us feel that way. And sometimes we handle it really well, right? Maybe you've been in kind of a crisis situation and realized that you handle emergencies well. On the flip side of that, there might be something where you react in a way and you're like, I don't know why I'm so upset about this right now, but I am. It just hit a nerve. I've been on both sides of that. I understand. We all deal with things different ways. In addition, there might be a situation where it's really painful and it makes you feel closer to God. It makes you see that God is near to you when you're hurting and when you're upset. But there also may be a painful situation where you're just sitting there asking if God's even there. And both of those are totally understandable too. I've been in both of those spots. So we all react different ways to different situations and painful things in our lives. And even though there are different things that make us feel certain ways that bring pain and uncertainty into our lives, the thing that is true at the end of the day about all of them is that hurt hurts, right? Like, my uncertain situation doesn't mean that your uncertain situation isn't painful. All of our stuff is hard. And that's where we find Joseph today, in a sticky, uncertain, hard, painful situation. So we heard last week that he had this dream where all of his brothers and even his parents are bowing down to him and he is going to rule over them. And they did not like it, right? They were like, dude, you're the youngest. We're older than you. We know more than you. That's not gonna happen. Like, that's not cool. So they were not cool with his dream, and they did not like that he was dad's favorite. And their dad, like, showed him all this favoritism and was, like, giving him really good gifts, and everybody could tell. And it did not sit well with the other brothers. So today we're going to look at their response, which is very extreme. So this is starting in Genesis 37, verse 18. It says, "But they saw him in the distance, and before he reached them, they plotted to kill him." So, like, very extreme, 0 to 100. "Here comes that dreamer," they said to each other. "Come now, let's kill him and throw him in one of the cisterns and say that a ferocious animal devoured him. Then we'll see what comes of his dreams." So, there is one brother among this group who has a little bit different of an idea. He is looking at the situation and hearing what his brothers are saying and thinking to himself, that's way too far. We should definitely not be doing that. So we see in verse 21, "When Reuben heard this, he tried to rescue him from their hands. 'Let's not take his life,' he said. 'Don't shed any blood. Throw him into the cistern here in the wilderness, but don't lay a hand on him.' Reuben said this to rescue him from them and take him back to his father." So, thankfully, Reuben had a better idea in this situation. He was redirecting things. He was looking at this situation saying, what's happening in front of me is not right, right? And I have a say in what's going on. Like, I can influence my brothers and convince them to not do this horrible thing to our brother. At the end of the day, like, as mad as they might have been, as upset as they might have been at the things he was saying, at the way their dad favors him, they're brothers. And he knew that he could have a say in changing what was about to happen. So Another brother, Judah, suggests that instead of killing him, that they sell him to the traders that are coming through town to sell him into slavery. So that's what they end up doing, which is still wild. So it says in verse 32, they took the ornate robe back to their father and said, "We found this. Examine it to see whether it is your son's robe." So what they've done is taken his coat of many colors, dipped it in like animal blood, and brought it back to the dad to make him think that he was killed by a wild animal, when in reality they have just sold their brother into slavery. And just even the wording, like, see if this is your son's robe, not our brother, like distancing themselves from this situation. Joseph, throughout his life, faced like hardship after hardship and crazy situation time and time again, and we're going to keep seeing that in the next few weeks. It's hard to imagine that it's going to keep being crazy after his brothers plotted to kill him and then decided a less intense strategy was to sell him into slavery and convince his dad that he is dead. But it does keep getting crazier and crazier, and one like glimpse of hope that we see in Joseph's story comes at the end of the narrative of his life, and it's in Genesis 39:2. It says, "The Lord was with Joseph." That even throughout all of this mess, God was with Joseph. He was still in bad situations. He did not have a say in what was happening to him. And it didn't necessarily make dealing with the stuff any easier, but God was with him. So in the story of Joseph, when hardship is all around, when life is uncertain, when life is painful and hurts, when things don't make sense, when there's nothing we can do, God is with us. When we are out of options, we are powerless and things are out of our hands, there's no control that we can have in the situation, God is with us. And I want you to hear that today. But I also want you to hear something else. I want us to remember that narrative of Joseph and know that when there's nothing we can do, God is with us. But I also want us to remember Reuben in this situation, who was looking at his brother being mistreated. And instead of going along with what the other brothers were saying, because that might have been easier, he said something because he knew it was not okay. So when there is something we can do, God is with us. If you have gotten on social media or turned on the news at all in the past few days, I know that you know what is going on in our world, in our city. And it might seem scary, it might seem intimidating, and as a teenager, it might feel like there's nothing you can do. But I want us to remember Reuben. And if you are looking at all of this that is going on in our world, the injustices that are happening, and you feel like you identify more with Reuben as a person who is looking on and seeing what's happening to people that you love, brothers and sisters that you care about, I want to encourage you to do what he did. It probably wasn't easy, right? It's hard to disagree with people who are around you sometimes, and especially with his brothers that were planning all of this craziness, but he spoke up, and because of that, it saved his brother's life. And in the midst of all this, if you feel like you identify more with Joseph and there's nothing you can do right now, God is with you. On both sides. Whether you feel more like Reuben, whether you feel more like Joseph, God is with you. And that's what I want us to hear today. That when one of us hurts, all of us hurt. And like while there are many individual situations that are happening, there are also communal hurts, and we're experiencing that right now. And so I want us to continue this conversation on Zoom. If you are looking for a place to process everything that's going on in our world, I would love to be part of that and help you do that. If you have questions, if you are confused, if you have been haven't been watching the news or on social media or know what's going on, I would love to help fill you in as well, and talk about how we can speak up like Reuben did, and show love to people who are being mistreated. So, yes, I hope to see you on Zoom. Love y'all, and I'll see you soon.